All right, welcome to another Drink of Ages radio show here on ESPN 97.5. I'm John Denman, Tom Painter.
Heyo!
DJ Muskratch back there, the producer. And this week we're hanging out at New Magnolia Brewing over in, and there's a specific name for this area.
Shady Acres, technically.
Shady Acres.
Yeah.
Good
It's
old
the
Shady
Heights.
Acres.
It's the Heights. We're in the Heights.
We're in the Heights, not too far from my old house, right down the street, actually.
Oh.
Kind of thing is though that when I lived there weren't breweries around everywhere,
True.
and it would have been nice to have had a brewery right down the street from me.
We're not too far from King's and their delicious chicken wings.
You're right about that. Yes, yeah. King's Beer House makes some excellent smoked wings. Huey's, right there on 18th Street.
I know, this area is fantastic.
There's a lot of really good food around here. Presley's.
Yes.
Presley's makes a mean chicken fried steak.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of good comfort food.
Very good stuff. Well, we're at New Magnolia Brewing, and our guest this week is Shayn Robinson,
Hello, hello.
Sean Spiller,
Hi.
and thanks for having us come by this whatever day is today.
It's Tuesday, John.
It is Tuesday. If you're listening, it's Friday.
Absolutely.
So it's not confusing at all. It's just, and the thing is that typically by now that we get the show going, there's more beers involved, and I'm just now having my second beer, so
Oh, well,
it should get more interesting after this.
It
we
is
have a lot of
only
catching
Tuesday.
up to do, I guess.
I think, we've got a lot of cans in front of us, a lot of
Yeah.
things going on,
Sure.
but you guys got a really kick-ass place over here. And like I said, we're right off TC Jester, 18th, Bevis Street, just kind of this little corridor, Timber Grove, Shady Acres.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, very easy to get to, and really good beers.
Appreciate that, yeah.
So
Thank you.
let's
yeah.
get to the
Thank you.
important part.
Yeah,
you.
that is the most important thing for us, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there's some cool pictures on the wall and all, but it's really what's in the glass.
Yeah, nobody comes here to look at the art. They come here to drink beer.
Drink the beer.
Although this your little light chandelier that we have above us right now,
I love it.
is with all the pack tech, the little
Yeah.
plastic holders for the 6-packs.
Yep. That's Glen Cementelli. He's a local Houston artist. He and I met at a beer festival, or an event here in Houston, and we got talking, and he pitched me on the idea of these individual little lampshades that he had made. And I said, well, we can't do just a bunch of little individuals hanging from the ceiling. We need a unit. And he came in, and within a week, he went from concept to physically installing this this copper octopus, as it looks like. And he hand bent all those little tentacles by hand over a course of like 5 or 6 hours right here.
Kind of made it for the space.
Yeah, made it for his space. It's a custom, one of a kind, never to be repeated piece of art.
Well, I mean, we were sitting underneath it just kind of talking, and it's above your eyesight. So you just look up, you just see like a chandelier with colors and stuff like that. And until Shawnee said something, I went, oh, hot damn.
Those are pack techs.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
that's pretty slick.
Woven together individually with little pieces of copper.
Yeah, lots of copper.
Yeah, no, it's a good spot you guys have here, a good outdoor area.
The space is cozy, super unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a nice neighborhood feel.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys started what, like right before the pandemic hit?
2019 of November.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had a good winter, which is not the strongest opening season for any business.
Right.
And then right when March was supposed to, everything was supposed to hit the ground running hard,
Yeah.
everything stopped. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
that's-
The growing pains of a first year.
The added growing pains.
Our first year is like
mildly.
everybody else's first year, exactly.
Man, yeah, it's like, how was your first year? Well, you ever just been hitting the shin really hard over and over again?
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
It's like being hit in the funny bone. It's not really funny.
It's not
it hurts
that
like
funny.
hell.
Oh, man.
right?
Yeah, you're laughing, though, because so what
Yeah.
do you do? It's
Yeah, it's like it hurts, it burns, it tickles. I mean, it just does.
all of the feelings and
It's
emotions.
been a long time since I've actually been hitting the funny bone, but it is like a numbing.
Oh.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Try it
you
out.
just keep rubbing it until it goes away. And it's kind of like what the last year has been. You just keep at it until it goes away.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know, had opened the tap room back November 2019 as like you mentioned, the neighborhood is so strong around us, and the presence of the neighborhood coming into the tap room was really strong even through that kind of slow winter, as like all the winters are slow. And by the time March hit and we had to shut down, the neighborhood tap room brewery kind of model had to change really fast. So just like every other brewery that I'm sure you'll talk to, like what they went through in March and April, where all the bars are shutting down. At that point we were draft only.
Yeah.
We had not, we have all these cans sitting in front of us now, but that wasn't really even part of the plan for the first year of New Magnolia. But we were kind of, we've had to adapt a lot.
Yeah, kind of forced to adapt quite a bit.
Forced to adapt.
So
like
where did you guys
everybody.
go first? Like crowlers, growlers, these? What was the?
Oh man, the evolution was quick and intense.
It had to
be. We went from like having a couple boxes of 32-ounce crowlers on hand to ordering pallets of 32-ounce crowlers, and then boom, the crowler like aluminum shortage lands, and I wake up one day and I'm like, well, we bought the crowler that can do both a 25-ounce and a 32-ounce, and we immediately switched from 32 to 25-ounce. And I kid you not, like we ran out of our last 32-ounce on a Friday, and our 25 ounces were being delivered to the loading dock in the back just in time for us to drag them over and just keep filling because we had a line out the door. And that timing of going from 32 to 25 was perfect because we were one of the few venues around town that actually had aluminum that you could fill to go. Because
Had the ability,
everybody was
yeah.
sweating 32s, and we had 2 pallets of 25 sitting over there.
No label, we have 32s, and we had ran out. And then Rodney Campbell from Cask Branding was like, hey, man, I got a line on them. Go to contact Nathan at Texas Leaguer. So I run over to Texas Leaguer immediately. I was like, hey, I hear you got some cans laying around.
There was a lot of that happening.
And then, sure enough, like he's like, you want them? It was like you got them. We'll split it in half. So I took it, and right as I'm about to leave, James Carlisle from Ingenious rolls up, and he's like, oh no! I was like, yeah, there's none left. We got them. He's like, going through the
so
Rolodex,
crazy.
and it was because it was can shortage, can search.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, but it's funny how there's a lot of breweries lean on each other through the entire
definitely.
pandemic. Like we kept on running out of cans, and we contact like Spindle Tap or Eighth Wonder, and it's
Oh man, there's gonna be like 1,000 stories of that, like the industry kind of coming together in that way. You mentioned Huey's at the beginning. We've been supplying them with hooking them up with crowlers
well, they
during
have
the whole
Drink of Ages old
shortage.
crowler machine.
Is that right?
Yeah, they do have
do,
John's
yes.
old machine.
All that equipment, it stayed in the city.
It
had to
stayed
be
in the city.
somewhere.
It's being put to good use. It found a great home.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That's
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, Manny's an awesome guy.
It's paired with the best shaken beef you can find.
Yeah. So I mean, it was. Trust me, it wasn't fun. Like going through that whole process. We were canning up 32-ounce crowlers. We were doing 600 to 700 a weekend, right?
That's awesome.
That's incredible when you think about the number of crowlers and then pivoting to the 25 ouncers.
It's all that beer that would have been draft beer, but people are, basically all of our product locked down, and the only way that we really had to sell was through crowlers in the tap room. And we did a lot of we did a lot of crowlers.
A lot of crowlers.
Yeah.
People were really thirsty those first 2 months, though. Like the first 2 months of the solid lockdown.
Yeah.
Like when everyone was locked down together, like our sales were like, I know at No Label we were like, shh, like this isn't so bad.
Not terrible,
We can
right?
make this work. And then, but it's when everything else opened up and then the breweries were still closed. I was like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is unfair.
Oh, the first start of the lockdown, everybody so I remember being on lockdown. It started off in March of this week last year, right?
That's right.
Literally this week, and I was on spring break with my wife and kids, and we're like, well, let's just stay a little bit longer, and then we come back and we're still closed until April. But when we opened back up, at the beginning of that lockdown, everybody was just like, all right, I don't have to do any work. Like it was like a free for all. Like it was like spring break for the United
Adults.
States.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people were being told work from home for 2 weeks, and then you're
Yeah.
coming back.
You're like,
And
what?
that
It's
never really,
10 a.m. I can have a beer now. Let's
Right,
get
yeah.
busy.
No, we were
Get to
doing
work.
a lot of to-go drinking at home personally too during
Very
the
boozy.
first 2 weeks, trying to take advantage of,
Right.
And then I think like everybody else, that whole thing sort of trailed off a little bit.
Well, it was
Yeah.
very strange when the restaurants were back open, restaurants with bars, but then the breweries were still closed, and then all of a sudden you can see almost that split.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Where
Yeah.
you know, breweries had an avenue where a big focus group that
Right.
we're only buying from the breweries, and then all of a sudden restaurants open back up, and
think-
people just wanted to get out for a minute.
Right.
And
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of breweries sales started suffering there.
And I think one of the biggest things for us during the time, and one of the things that we sort of acknowledged and realized was happening, is a lot of people were buying beer in the grocery stores. You know, people weren't, nobody knew what the hell was going on, and people were going to trying to make one stop. You're going to buy groceries, you're going to buy beer, and you're going to go home. You're not going to go around to a bunch of different places picking up stuff. So that kind of, basically forced our hand into canning beer. Which we started mobile canning, July, yeah. And we were doing it through the tap room without, we didn't need to have labels or anything like that through the tap room, but trying to go as fast as we can from a, small neighborhood tap room brewery concept to distribution or, a locally, not this like statewide distribution, but just trying to get into stores as quick as we can,
Package is king. When your tap room is
definitely
closed.
during when your
Yeah.
tap room is closed, package is king. For us, tap room for any brewery, any brewery, tap room is king.
Yes.
Right.
But when tap room is legally not able to be a thing, then you have to,
You got to pivot.
you have to pivot.
And
Just like,
and our pivot moment was, hey, we know we're inevitably or eventually going to be in can format, so let's just lean into the 16 ounce. Let's get our
let's go and
label
flip
format.
like to page 33 of the
Yeah.
business plan.
Where's
Just
year
skip
3 of
those
the
other
business
20.
plan?
Right.
Yeah, just get right there.
Yeah, I mean that's literally 18 months became day one.
right,
Like,
yeah.
And so we knew that was the end game, and so we just leaned into it heavily, and we really scored with a graphic artist who's just top notch. He's been putting all these great labels together, and we realized there was shelf space available in the grocery stores and liquor stores around town because the out of state, distributors and breweries just weren't coming in here anymore because they couldn't get their product in because of logistics. So we capitalized on that, and we've been winning space ever since, and tap handles across the
All
city.
right, let's take a quick break and get back. We'll talk more with New Magnolia Brewing Company. This is Drink of Ages. Crawfish and beer, that is what's on everyone's mind. Stop by New Magnolia this Sunday for great beers and excellent crawfish by Crawfish Chris. With them tapping Roselle Saison, a mixed culture fermented Saison conditioned on Roselle hibiscus, this beer is bright, tart, funky, tropical, and juicy. Also tapping is Belgian Quad. This beer is a super rich, malt-forward, tasty Belgian ale. Brown sugar and caramel flavors round out this 8.3% ABV beer. Come out and enjoy the big patio at New Magnolia, and I'm pretty sure you're going to find your next favorite beer. Weekends are a great time to check out Megaton Brewing in Kingwood. Jared, Chris, and the gang have created a badass place to kick back and enjoy a few beers. Big stouts, approachable sours, and plenty of hoppy brews are on tap at Megaton. Lots of space to hold your birthday party, corporate outing, or any event in one of the most unique tap rooms in the Houston area. Check them out on social media for their concert and event schedule. Megaton Brewery. Hope to see everyone at the vault. All right, this is Drink of Ages Radio here on ESPN 97.5. We are back hanging out at New Magnolia Brewing Company. And got Shane Robinson. Sean Spiller is our guest. Tom Painter.
I'm here.
Over here. I'm John Denman.
There you go.
And now it's time to hear the very beautiful sound of beer can opening up. And then the aromas coming from this nicely dry hop
You get that
Kolsch.
already?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
So we started, we had Kolsch from the get-go. Like, we thought we were going to want to make Kolsch year-round, really dialed in, really well-made Kolsch. It was a beer we're very proud of.
Yeah.
Crisp, clean, delicious beer. As we grew, we started adding beers. We had a really well-made Pilsner. We added that light lager. The Kolsch started not to make sense as its own standalone thing. You can't have a bunch of pale, crushable, crispy beers.
Mm-hmm.
We took the Kolsch, we dry hopped it in a little 1-barrel fermenter as a small batch just for the tap room with like 3 pounds per barrel of Mosaic, a nice heavy dose. that beer was so successful. We just had people coming back every weekend asking for it. So we decided to brew it as its own special thing. It is a very traditional Kolsch, Pilsner malt, the right water, fermented very cold, lagered, and then dry hop the snot out of it with a bunch of mosaic. So we take this like very traditional German beer and then make it very much American just by the dry hopping.
Yeah, I think we were surprised too by the fact that there was biotransformation that occurred from the mosaic going into the Kolsch, because that Kolsch as a standalone, crystal clear, beautiful, crisp, bright beer, and then we put that dry hop aspect onto it.
Just a little slight
and it totally
haze
changes
to it.
things up.
Yeah, grab you one.
There we
Or
go.
all of them. There's more. No.
Welcome to the show, Carlos.
No,
The beer's delicious because it's super light, which means you can drink a whole bunch of them.
that's the most important thing.
But also it doesn't. It's full bodied, right? Like it's got all that presence and profile, so it's got a little extra heft to it, so you feel like you're drinking this.
And I
fuller
think
beer.
the heft comes from like the concentration of hop, characteristics. It's really not, if you were to just take away that dry hop, that's our Kolsch.
Right.
But you add that dry hop, and then it takes it, and it does add texture, it does add body, it does add heft. But yeah, we take this little 4% puny beer into a place that's like, pour it blind in somebody's glass, they taste it, they're like, what IPA is this?
Right.
It's not an IPA. No, it's, it's basically a lager that's been dry hopped.
I think that's why I love it.
Right, yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
me
just
too.
stretches the palate just a little bit
Right.
past that traditional Kolsch.
Yeah, definitely. It
Yeah,
just,
you still get the crispiness of the Kolsch,
Yeah,
but then the hops of a good IPA.
right. And kind of our, at least as a brewer, for me, my main focus in making beer is to make a beer that people want to have multiples of.
Right.
I don't want somebody to come to a bar, come to the bar, have one of it, and be like, okay, I don't know that I can have another. I want somebody to be like another,
Another.
until
definitely
they forget how much they've had of something.
Definitely a golf course beer.
Oh,
Right
Yeah,
here. I mean, it
for
already
sure.
smells like fresh cut grass.
yeah.
Yep.
That would be a
Sessionable.
really good golf course beer.
Yes.
And that would be the golf course beer that you get halfway, you get to hole 9, and then, or if you're, and then you can just keep going.
Yeah,
you don't
well,
have to slow down.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times on the golf course, after I start having a few beers,
Yeah.
about like 3 or 4, like hole 3 or 4, you all of a sudden you're like par, and you got a birdie shot, and then it falls off really quickly after that. This one might stretch that good game out a few more holes.
Right. But giving you all of the flavor that you would expect hopefully from like an IPA that's like, 6 to 7% that you might just be able to have 2
Right.
of before you're really starting to feel like, okay, I got to slow down. Maybe you get through the 4-pack of this before you feel like that.
All the flavor without the big crushing ABV.
Yeah, really.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah,
Please. Yeah.
man. So last Sunday was at No Label, and they have a triple IPA on tap.
Sure. Yeah.
That is not, it's a quick session, yeah, if you want it to be. But that was one that, it was a little shocking because the ABV, so I drank it a little slower, but it
Sure.
was really good for a triple IPA. But those high-powered beers,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of breweries are kind of tending towards like going to the lower ABV beers, more sessionable, more just throw down beers. But it's good to see every once in a while, just like, yep, no, we make some good low
all out.
ABV beers, but hey, here's a 12%er.
Yeah.
that
Well,
you can crush.
yeah.
That's the problem with our head brewer, Ryan Traylor. He's from San Diego, and he just keeps on making these deceptively. They taste light, but they aren't. Like it's a triple IPA at 12.1%. We have a barley wine that's a barrel-aged barley wine that's at 12%, and then you get a triple IPA that's at 12.1, and like Stapleton's there, and he's just like, oh, hold on, put it back.
It all comes down to like the, what's happening in the cellar, what's happening in the brew house, how you're able to make those beers come across in a way that to where you can have a pint of 12% beer, but it doesn't feel like,
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that a brewer can do to make things seem so much more presentable, where you're just not like booze, taste it, booze,
yeah.
you want something to sneak up on you. I think that it's a kind of a sign of a well-made high ABV beer if you can hide it. Almost.
Yeah, I
There's
agree.
a nuance to it. I mean,
You don't
it's the
want to
same
be
thing
able to
with-
taste it on your
But
first.
it's like this
Right.
too. It's just like
pint or,
if it
you know.
tastes bigger than what it is, it's like, oh, there's some magic happening behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
then and that's the stuff you really appreciate with drinking great beers.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing for us. Again, it's just about. Mostly just about, especially the stuff that we're drinking in cans, highly drinkable beer. We just want to make sure somebody wants to have multiples of whatever we're trying to make.
What are your
Right.
top sellers in the tap room? What's
Oh,
the
yeah.
I mean, week over week, we have this conversation. Redwood is our West Coast IPA. That kind of leads the pack week over week. Fighting for second place week over week is our Heights Light Lager. American Light Lager, 4%, super clean, bright, crisp. I mean, just spot on. Took a bronze in one of the big beer competitions last year. So that speaks for itself. And then
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
That's
We
really
got
big.
2 medals in our first year, so
Yeah.
we're kind of stoked on that.
That's
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah, you like medals. We got some medals.
Yeah.
we got a little hardware on the wall now.
Yeah.
And then like our WYSIWYG, which is our juicy IPA. That's a third strong place contender. And then we had a Czech Amber Lager that we did that was solid 4th place. And then kind of 88 Pilsner bounces in and out of the top 4, just depending on what it's competing against on the lineup. I mean, it's kind of it stinks. Like we're battling our own battles because like a lot of these beers are just like fighting for first, second, third place, and we just keep they're our beers, right?
They're all your beers.
Yeah, they're all our beers, and it's a good problem to have. But at some point, you're like, okay, like we want all of these guys to like be out in the pack together, out front.
I mean, that
as
would be
opposed-
nice.
Yeah.
Or if you have your favorite, you're like, my favorite's in 3rd place. We got to ramp this up a little bit.
It's been really nice to see, like, really, if you just break it down, hoppy beer, which is also like the dry up Kolsch, which kind of blurs the lines between hoppy beer and pale lager, which
Right.
is Heights Light, 88 Pills. That's like, our biggest sellers are pale lager and hoppy beer, which is, we do a lot of those things. We do a lot of other things that kind of fill the blanks in between. They might not be the best sellers, but we're all really proud of those beers as well. But, obviously the market's always going to speak for itself in terms of what they want to see the most of. And this year was the biggest kind of teller for us. And when we rolled out Heights Light this year, it kind of showed us that, like, oh, damn, like, Houston is sort of ready, or this neighborhood is ready for really well-made American light lager, that big beer style brewed with good ingredients and really good water locally. So that Heights Light, really excited that that's kind of grown into be its own thing. Pills, always. We're excited about adding more hoppy beers, more pale lager beers as the year goes on.
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking of lagers, I mean we're kind of doubling down on that by bringing in lagering tanks. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 2 15-barrel horizontal conditioning tanks, a very German vessel for conditioning lager beer and other beers that should be. They just passed through the Panama Canal today.
Oh, really?
John said he got a
cool.
little alert. These tanks we're getting alerts like a FedEx shipment or something. Like every
Right.
day, it's like,
But it
oh,
came
you're
from the other
here in
side of the
ocean.
world.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you
on
should
a,
know
on a
where
slow
those
boat.
things are.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, and we're excited. We've been, all the infrastructure is built out. Basically, the market has shown us, or the neighborhood has shown us, that they really like lager, and we're going to double down on that. We're going to make more Czech Amber, a lot more different pills throughout the year, and just tons more Heights Light. Because that's been Heights Light and Redwood. Those are the 2 that we are trying to keep up with at this point. Yeah.
All right, let's. I'm really enjoying this dry hop Kolsch. By the time the show starts again, after this little quick break, I will be opening up. I don't know, Tom. What did you just open up?
I just opened up this 88 pills. It's so good.
All right, that might be next. This is Drink of Ages. Be right back. You may have noticed there have been quite a few changes at No Label, and they are steadily pumping out tasty brews. With their new head brewer, Trailer, bringing in his West Coast brewing skills, taps have been flowing with lots of hoppy deliciousness like Cali Boy West Coast IPA. I'm real excited about what they're doing on the west side. Tap room is open 7 days a week, Very family and dog friendly. Make the short trip to Katy and see what is happening at No Label. Follow them on social media for events and beer releases. No Label Brewing Company. True Anomaly Brewing is doing something pretty badass. The Hill Country Collab is going to be a collaboration with Rough House Brewing, Jester King, Oddwood Ales, and Lazarus. Cannot tell you any more details, but follow True Anomaly on social media because there will be an announcement made next week. This collab is going to be real cool. But every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. in the tap room, come out for trivia with some badass prizes. If you're looking for a great event space, book the Barrel Room. Go to trueanomalybrewing.com for more information. Our friends up in Porter at Backpew Brewing Company is making some great beers and doing it in an old snake handling, speaking in tongues church. The well water has been blessed and used to make both Sinners and Saints lineup. Up next is Me Beer. This is going to be a blonde Doppelbock weighing in at a nice 10% ABV. This limited release will be available beginning of April. Also in April, put on your calendar Saturday, April 3rd, and come out to the Backpew to celebrate 5 years of them making some great beers. If you've never been out to the sanctuary, you need to come check them out. Backpew Brewing Company. The sound, once again, of a beer can opening.
I love
To
it.
start off another segment of Drink of Ages Radio here on ESPN 97.5. We are hanging out at New Magnolia Brewing Company, Shane Robinson, Sean Spiller. I'm John Denman. Tom Painter's across the table from me.
I'm right here, entering segment 3, approaching segment 4, yada yada yada.
This is usually when the juicy stuff happens, in the
Sure.
show.
Okay.
And which at this time I'm actually pouring a beer that
This
is
is
with
3.5%.
passion fruit and pink guava.
He's gonna lose it.
Sean
over this
just
one.
gave me some side.
Yeah, the camera's on. They're all going to see it. Tom let me know before we started filming today that he does not drink beer that's below 5%, which I have strong
No, I
strong
didn't say I
feelings
didn't
about.
drink beer that's. Normally, I don't.
Normally.
I like to stick around the 5 level. 5 is good. 5 is like you're walking a dog, but you're going at a slightly brisk pace. It's still manageable. It's still manageable. Like
So when do you ever go for the brisk pace, like just without the, or just like the steady walk, but without building,
well, I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, you are. Because you're here drinking our beer.
We're at New Magnolia, having some 4.5%. This might be the show that by the end of it, I'm still talking mostly normal.
We want people to get home
Kevin
safe.
says thank you. DJ Muskrat's back there. I have to
Because
edit
his job
things out.
normally gets difficult
That's hilarious.
as the show goes on.
It makes editing easy, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. We can dig up the heavier ABV. It's not that we don't have them, but the things that we're proud about and sharing right now are the
Don't
things.
threaten John.
Yeah, I know. Oh, damn. Okay.
No, I'm looking forward. I don't mind the low ABV beers.
Oh, I know.
And
But it's like coffee. Like, why drink decaf? I mean, what's the point? You need it for the caffeine.
I could
well-
argue against that as well. I love the taste of coffee.
Well,
I
the
love
good
the
news is
taste
it's all
of beer.
delicious. So
Yeah, it's all
not.
delicious.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
But I've never had a non-alcoholic beer in my life, and I've never had decaffeinated coffee either. Never really saw. I
I
never
mean, if you
smoked
guess if you're
cigarettes
going in
either,
all in,
because I
yeah.
didn't see the point.
Yeah. It's I think there's a time and place for all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like decaffeinated coffee, non-alcoholic beer. I mean, it's you just because you're not in the circumstance of somebody else's shoes. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Absolutely.
You have to imagine other people and what everybody's got their own way of doing things, but you also try to imagine other people's ways of doing things. Not everybody's always in for the high ABV, getting drunk. Focus of drinking beer. Some people like to drink beer without getting drunk.
I was with Thomas Keel from who reps Bell's.
I know that guy too. I worked with him.
Yeah, we all have something in common. and he was like, "Where are you going?" It's like, "I'm going to Magnolia, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Every beer they have there is delicious."
Good.
And so far, he's completely correct.
Okay. Good.
Well, one of the
Just waiting for
things
that gotcha moment, Tom.
as doing as many shows
It's not
as
coming.
it is.
It's
I
not
think,
coming.
I don't know. I don't even know what 200 some odd, almost 300 shows. I'm not sure where we are. 348.
348.
So 348,
That's a lot of shows.
bounced around to a lot of breweries. And a lot of the breweries that we've gone to is like the first startup, go in and try some beers. And, there's several of them that the beers needed a lot of work, right? And some of them start off really good, but it could improve upon. the first time I tried the beers here, yeah, it was just like, man, you guys are making solid beers. I mean, it's not like the best beers I've ever had or anything, but you guys are making beers that there's nothing wrong with them.
You know,
and
that's
there's a lot of room to, like you're
Sure.
already at this point making great beers. You're only going to be making better beers.
I think to the point
Right.
of the best beers you've ever had, that's something that I think about a lot too. I think about a lot like how a beer impacts somebody when they're having it, right? Like whether or not you have it and you're like, that's really good, or like this like wow factor that totally blows you away, that like, just overwhelms you. And that's something to strive for some breweries. But I think, again, for us, like, it doesn't have to just like sit you down and like, put you to reckoning, in terms of how it impacts you. We want to have a beer that's like so drinkable that's like, that's really good. Want to keep drinking it. It's so clean. No sort of,
Well, there's more work to be had if the ABV isn't as strong, right? So,
Well,
like,
it all comes down to that, right?
But you got to remember, like, you shouldn't go to the. I mean, this is my philosophy, right? Don't go to a brewery just to like pigeonhole your consumption rate because of a style of beer that you're specifically pursuing. In other words, like, people come in and they're like, "I want a hazy." Well, we're like, "Well, we got a lot of other really great things we can offer you, so go for that." And I like to personally meander my way through a good tap wall, trying everything across the board. I usually try like light to dark or dark to light or
Absolutely.
high to low or
What
low
should
to
I be
high
drinking?
ABV. Right.
Great question.
And I work my way through the menu, and when you can work your way from consistent beer to consistent beer to consistent beer, that's when you've stumbled on something that's like worth returning for. And that's where I think a lot of people cut themselves short, is that just like, I just want one specific XYZ.
I have no problems like hearing in feedback that like our beer's really, really good, but nothing that wowed them. That doesn't hurt me really, almost, because I would rather have this like, their beer's really good, but they didn't have the chocolate, vanilla, marshmallow, goopy, glop, syrupy drink that just wowed them.
I know where you can get it.
Wowed them. I'd much rather
there?
make these sorts of
Really?
things that just like,
I've never heard of it.
Again, somebody wants to come, the main focus, get them to order a second pint, something that's like so good that they want to have more of.
Pique their
There's plenty of
curiosity.
room for everybody to make these like one and done wows, or like
Right.
just
Well, there's also the perception that you have to make a beer like that to be wowed.
right.
And
Yeah.
when you like, I can go drink a good Kolsch and be like, man, this is a really good, and be wowed by
Right,
that.
yeah. I think a lot of people can too. I think we've kind of like beer culture has moved into this like, how much stuff did you fit in the Instagram photo, kind of like that's what wows people. And we're trying to kind of stay away from, and just like really well-made beer.
So I'm of the same mind because, yeah, if you go to a place that's like a Frappuccino, cookie, whatever, I'm like, I don't know. I really appreciate a good lager. There's something about, maybe I'm a traditionalist, but like when I'm in those places, I'm always like, is there a Pilsner anywhere? Or,
You might not be
I
a
like to play.
traditionalist. You might have started drinking beer before 5 years ago.
or I just don't want
Yeah.
diabetes.
You know
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
saying?
Well,
It's just kind of like
wanna have more
new
than one
money
beer.
stuff that we're in the phase of. I have no problems talking about
I like
this.
to play no matter where I go. So if I walk into a brewery and I look up and I see, there's pastry stouts or, different things, and I'm like, let's try them. I want to taste them all.
Yeah,
And
you got to see what other people are doing.
Yeah, I
do
think
that
it's I
too,
think it's
yeah.
exciting, because if we didn't have people really pushing the envelopes, even in brewing, then where beer would still be the same with these traditional styles, which
Sure.
are really good. But it's great to have these breweries that are really pushing the envelopes. You need your crazies on both sides, right, in order
Sure.
to find out what the medium is.
I think for me personally, as a brewer, pushing the envelope is where we're going to differ from our opinions on what pushing the envelope should be or should go to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, but it
this
also,
can be a
but
different.
don't forget, it also goes back to our philosophy. Like,
Right.
we felt like somewhere along the way, breweries, head brewers, the consumer base lost their way, and they were getting pulled in directions that weren't necessarily true to the style of beer that they were making. And so a lot of our philosophy here is like, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to where beer came from, the craft beer, where it came from in the world, where it came from a stylistic perspective, and let's do a really good job at those beers so that people come back and realize, like, oh, that's what a Pilsner is supposed to taste like, or that's what a West Coast is supposed to be, or whatever it is that we're doing, as opposed to like some perverted version of whatever some other.
This is our American version of an ESB. This is our American version of a Czech Pilsner.
Right.
Now it's that has always been the thing that we focus on in terms of starting from square one in the brew house. We're always as traditional as possible. Grain, as traditional, ratios, sources, water, we're really nerds about. We start with pure reverse osmosis water. We don't use like Houston water as it comes. We basically strip it all away and build upon that to make mineral content. If we're making an ESB, we take Burton water. If we're making Czech pills and water, German water, all of these things to make it as stylistically accurate.
We build the water profile. That's
right,
what he's
yeah.
saying.
And upon that too, just like the basics of what the recipe would have been. If we're gonna make an American version of it, we're gonna make it on the backs of what the Berliner Weiss that we're drinking right now. That gets a lot of scoffs at 3.5% ABV.
Sorry, Tom.
Guys.
3.5% ABV.
3.5
What
is a perfectly
traditional
acceptable
Berliner
ABV.
Weiss was above
Not ABV.
3.5? Berliner Weiss should never be above 4%, but we see so many of them that are 6% and say Berliner Weiss on it. Not a single ever in history Berliner Weiss. And I realize that Berliner Weiss might not have passion fruit and guava in it traditionally, but we're going to ride on like what made that beer traditionally so acceptable. So we didn't as Americans invent any of these styles, right? Like most of the things that were so popular in brewing, whether it be IPA or lagers, they didn't originate in America. For hundreds of years elsewhere, they honed these styles and the guidelines around these styles.
Right.
And we're trying to pay respect to that tradition in a lot of ways. And not just like say, oh, well, screw it, we'll make a 6% Pilsner or we'll make a 6% and just call it a Berliner Weiss or something like that. We're trying to do things as traditionally and as historically accurate as possible, down to like the little tiny parameters of the beer making.
Yeah.
And water is a big part of that.
Yeah, water's the most critical aspect of what we do beyond everything else. But we're also not like style jumping to just try to like fit a beer into a style for the sake of capturing the audience of that style.
No.
You see that a lot in competitions. Not a fan of that. That's definitely not what we're up to in this brew house here.
Right, and we found ourselves in a place of like, we're blurring the German Czech styles with American, but we're not going to call it this is your traditional Kolsch. This is not a German Kolsch, the dry hop Kolsch. That is,
right.
We're taking a German Kolsch, which is a really well built Kolsch, and dry hop the crap out of it with Mosaic, but it's not It's an American version of this style too, but it's not like we brewed this beer as like some blonde ale that we dry hop with Kolsch. Or with a Mosaic. It's a Kolsch.
Yeah, it's just interesting. It's like, why didn't Ireland brew a good Pilsner or a good Kolsch? Why didn't Germany brew a big, nice stout? Why didn't these things actually happen, and why did they happen where they did? Let's ponder this.
Yes, absolutely. I got answers for that. I mean, it all comes down to your surrounding environments and what you're kind of, in the UK, when you're talking about like Irish stout, which
Sean,
came from British Porter.
We got to take a break. I hate to cut you up.
Teed him up and
hold that
down.
I know you're excited. I am too. But when we get back, we'll figure this out because I'm wondering about this. Water profiles. Probably.
Okay.
All right, this is Drink of Ages. Be right back. Special announcement from Platypus Brewery. F off, mate. The latest taproom release is an American Hefeweizen that is chalky in appearance, generously dry hopped, imparting citrus and stone fruit flavors in a light and refreshing beer. Very easy on the palate. Also hitting the taproom at Platypus is Rough End of the Pineapple, a pineapple jalapeno sour. It sounds crazy, but it works very well, especially when you pair it with the chicken wings. Food specials all week long, including Chicken Parmy Tuesdays, Surf and Turf Wednesdays, Texas Barbecue Thursdays, and Fish and Chips Fridays. PlatypusBrewing.com, open Tuesdays through Sunday. Spindletop Brewery has partnered with Texas EquiSearch, and on March 20th we'll be releasing Lost Is Not Alone IPA and having a citywide fundraiser with bars across the Houston area, tapping Lost Is Not Alone and everyone donating much needed funds to assist in covering the cost of searches. If you are not familiar with Texas EquiSearch, the organization was created in August 2000 with a purpose to provide volunteer search and recovery for lost and missing persons. Spindletop is very happy to be able to help. Look for Lost Is Not Alone March 20th at Spindletop Brewery and in the good beer bars across Houston the following week. Eureka Heights has been making interesting and approachable and fun beer since 2016. If you like awards, they got them. How about 2 gold medals at the Great American Beer Festival, the largest beer competition in the United States? The beers include flagships like Buckle Bunny Cream Ale, one of my all-time favorites, Mini Boss IPA, to seasonals like Neon Moon Belgian Single, plus launching soon, Fizzy Pants Hard Seltzer. You can find their tasty beverages all across Houston or at the tap room located in the Heights. The tap room is currently open Thursday through Sunday and is probably jamming out to some yacht rock right now, keeping it smooth and mellow. Eureka Heights, grab some beers and some high fives. You're listening to Drink of Ages radio show here on ESPN 97.5. New Magnolia Brewing Company is where we're at right now. Tom's over there.
I'm ready.
Let's hear it. Followed by...
It's 2 of them.
That's a good time right there. Nailed it.
Trifecta.
Sean Spiller with the sound effects. Shane Robinson. We're over at New Magnolia Brewing Company. And, man, before we left the last segment, before we took our break, we were discussing like why certain beer styles are where they are. So, I mean, Ireland is known for Irish Stout, right? Czech Pilsner.
Right. But before stout, there was porter, right? And then there was stout porter, and then of course everything that happened in the. We don't need to go into a history lesson to get into all of these styles, but yeah, there's an origin for every style and how it evolves throughout a society. And in America, that's kind of the best story of how all of these styles have kind of evolved. And I mean, I think any kind of beer nerd knows the story about IPA, and it's this kind of tired, boring story of beer in a barrel from IPA, and they hopped in and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, it's nothing
all
like
those people that were on those boats are like, I curse you. That was a lot of work.
Right, yeah. Nobody really cares about that, types of stuff. But
And all those boats got beer names, so they,
yeah, that's right, yeah. It's styles evolve because of a culture, it's basically what people want to be drinking during a certain time. You kind of brought up like German beer culture versus English beer culture, and like a lot of German beer culture in terms of lager came from the Czech Republic. Like Pilsner started in Pilsen in the UK, and then they smuggled east. A monk smuggled east to Germany to start making Pilsner because there was not such a bright, clear, pale beer. And you talk about malting techniques and stuff. This is a history lesson that I feel like we don't have time for. But really, what it comes down to is the beer kind of serves the place, and the climate and the culture. And that's where I think we've seen this rise in lager and IPA, American-driven ingredient beer, and also just crushable, crispy drinking, sessionable beer. Beer, when you boil it down to it, it's always going to be the social lubricant. It's always there for a purpose of bringing people together, really. That's where if you try to kind of, analyze any beer culture, anywhere, it always has to do with community and how it brings people together.
absolutely.
Yeah, always.
I mean, honestly, if I only drink beer when I'm hanging out with people.
Yeah.
I just happen to hang out with people all the
every
time.
day, yeah.
Yeah. And your beer tastes and what you want to drink kind of are influenced by the people you're hanging out with or the frequency of. And, this last year is not really a good year to judge any of that on.
No.
But,
No, but what's really cool is, though, because of how Houston came to be Houston, built by the Eastern Europeans that came in to do the work for the ship channel, the railroad, all the agriculture, everything that was going on here in the mid to late 1800s, they brought with them all of their cultural preferences and some of the greatest brewing techniques in the world. And you see all this throughout the history of early Houston and the number of breweries that literally just existed downtown. And that's, there's a lot to be said about that, because it's a lot of history that's been forgotten about beer and about Houston at large. And that's kind of what we pay homage to here.
Houston's really good about forgetting about history. I mean, if you look at the city and how many historical buildings we've torn down and rebuilt other things upon, and we continue to do so. River Oaks Theater, I mean, I don't know if anybody understands what's going on with them right now. It's the only independently owned theater in Houston, and the landlord has refused to renew their. It's just another story about how we, as Houstonians, continue to erase culture. But if you look back, and very few have looked back into Houston beer culture, it is so incredibly rich. One of the richest of any city in Texas, really, because it was such
so
a
much
port city.
beer. Like right now, if you combined all Houston breweries and how much beer, and we're like, oh man,
Not even near it.
people are sitting there talking about
Dude.
we're about to burst a bubble in
No.
the amount of beer
No.
because there's so many breweries. If you look at the volume of beer that's being brewed now compared to what was being brewed
Back then,
Right.
pre-prohibition,
Right. 120 years ago, they'd be laughing at our bubble.
yes,
Right now.
yeah.
Our
We couldn't even supply
our
anyone with beer.
homage brewery was brewing upwards of 250,000 barrels a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original Magnolia Brewery. That's 1895 to
Yes.
1912, right?
Such a volume. Yeah. Yeah. Again, there are fewer breweries. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of argument then. A lot of people are consuming beer that is not made in Texas. There weren't these like large conglomerates, the big breweries making these beers, but so much of the beer was just produced just right down there.
Right down the street.
Yeah, that
here,
all of this area
Magnolia,
was
and then down in
consumed.
Galveston.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Downtown. I mean,
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things to tell people is, did anybody realize that Howard Hughes owned Gulf Brewing, which was basically all of Ito? And that's what got him through the wartime efforts, because all of his manufacturing facilities were commissioned by the U.S. government to make military-grade equipment. And he survived, and he kept going by making beer through Gulf Brewing.
We got to do a Drink of Ages like history show special.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like-
invite us back.
Yeah. we
Just
We would-
a little education for for pieces from all the breweries around town.
No,
about
it's.
the beer
I think
scene
a lot
in
of
Houston.
there's not a lot of Houston breweries that are talking about it. Maybe or there's
Well,
so
Ronnie
much
Crocker.
rich-
Ronnie Crocker wrote his book,
Ronnie Crocker,
Ronnie.
and
yeah.
that was a phenomenal, I mean,
Wrote for the
easy,
Houston
fun,
Chronicle
great
and,
read.
yeah, I got it,
and
yeah.
he wrote his book, and it told a history of Houston that I had never heard of.
Right. Yeah,
So
and often people still continue to overlook.
Yeah, when we first opened, he messaged me on one of the social media platforms and gave me the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
was
cool.
really
he's one
cool.
of the sweetest, most kind people that I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
Right. We're unfortunately a city that's so quick to forget our where we come from, and our name is one of the smallest ways that we can kind of help to give to bring people back into understanding. Houston beer culture was one of the richest in the state. The Magnolia Brewing Company was like the biggest producer of ice. When all the breweries closed down during Prohibition, everybody
They
started
made
making
ice.
ice, and they were right there on the bayou.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The Magnolia Ballroom is all that exists of the original Magnolia Brewery. It's still there, but right there along the bayou, making and shipping ice along the bayou to so many,
I mean, like
Kinda cool.
right now we look at the bayou like I'm not drinking ice out of that.
No.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna.
Well,
touch
they had-
it.
they had
tiptoe
three-
into a kayak.
Yeah.
They had
perhaps.
3 deep artesian wells right there.
Right.
That they were siphoning water out of the ground from.
Yeah.
Yep. There's so much crazy stuff. Right at like Houston Avenue, 45, North Main, right there
That's all
was
it-
like a giant swimming hole at
Yeah.
one time. Beautiful artesian well coming out, swimming in there. It was like a party spot.
Yeah.
And now it's what it is.
Saying that though, but it's nice to walk along Buffalo Bayou and seeing what's happened in the last 10 years because it's, Houston has been making great strides in bringing the natural beauty out of what's already there.
Yeah, the parks have
You know what I'm
never,
saying?
have
Yeah.
never been better.
No, it's like I remember
Yes.
Free Press Houston or the Summerfest like
Right.
2009 or something like that, and just like it's amazing to see, and
Well-
I'm hopeful, and that Houstonians can kind of dig deeper into their history and be proud of the things that exist here.
Well, look at what the Memorial Park building an
Right.
overpass for animals.
That's crazy. I'm excited to see that.
Yes.
Finished.
Finished.
Yeah.
So as a person who's connected to the running community of Houston, everything above the waist is no good, but everything down, I like to run half marathons and marathons, and the fact is Houston is connecting all these parts of Houston finally together, like West Houston, like doing
Yeah.
all these parks that connect it to the an interconnected city that you can I can run 26 miles from here to here. This is pretty wild.
It's crazy
and
having-
then you can access downtown Houston and it just all those things connected to the past in a weird
And it's interesting to think that it's only happening in the last few years. This is something that's going to last hopefully 100 years or more. You go to an older city like Philadelphia, they've got these bayous that have been there for, I say bayous, these river walks that have existed for so long. We're just making things that are going to last for a long time, and that's, the way that we think about this brewery. We're building things that are going to last longer.
The best part about it is I can speak from a different perspective. Having lived in New York prior to coming to Houston, in grad school, we used to talk about Houston and how it was the sandbox for metropolitan growth in North America, and how when you juxtaposed it to New York City, which was just built vertical, concrete, sidewalk, subway, and that's all you've got, they looked at Houston and said, you have all these amazing green spaces that are not connected, so connect them. And you have all this, it was the largest city in North America that had the most undeveloped land within 3 miles of its downtown radius. And so Urban Land Institute and the city of Houston, all these incredible institutions did all this amazing research and invested tons of dollars in figuring out how do we connect it all? How do we make it so that it is a amenity to the city and to the people that live in the city? And Rich Kinder and the Kinder Foundation, because of their private-public partnership with Houston, and I'm not promoting this by any stretch, but I'm just saying here is where it works in that example of how do you promote a city to make it better from both internally and externally to the world around it, so that you capitalize on what you have available, which was open spaces and resources. And so other cities now are learning from Houston, and we're actually the most studied city in the world based on development and economic growth. And I know that from my previous life in commercial real estate.
Yeah.
It's all really exciting stuff, though.
Free beer.
And for us, the way it impacts us is that, we're a very walkable neighborhood. We can see people coming off this, White Oak Bayou, TC Chester. It's just, all of the promotion of all of these things is really vital to not only the beer culture, but us as a city.
Well, I mean, having trails, it's people are training for the MS 150 right now.
Yeah.
People are getting those bike trails. And the fact is, people from Ireland or whatever can access, are going down these routes, and all of a sudden they can access here, right?
Oh, man.
It's only a
15
minute
minutes,
ride,
yeah,
or
sure.
whatever.
We're on the
Like,
bike.
Seriously.
Beavis
Yeah.
is the bike
No,
trail.
it's
Beavis
crazy.
connects to the bike trail. We have our run club and our bike club that are all participating in all of this.
And as much as would love to continue this conversation, and we can continue it, right? But got to close out this show.
Yeah.
The ESPN show, the rest of the shows can continue on. But for our radio show, let's close this out. But tell us what's coming up here.
Yeah, so this week we've got a couple exciting activities. We have crawfish on Sunday from noon till gone. That's Crawfish Chris. He'll be bringing in a couple 100 pounds of bugs. We did it 2 weeks ago. It was a huge success.
I think
He
that
makes
was
some good food.
500 pounds.
Yeah, we went through
Crawfish.
500 pounds, and
Yep.
he
Go to
was,
Spradley, man.
Yeah. Oh,
Dude
man,
does a
that
good
guy
job.
he
knows
was
what to
killing
do.
it. And so we're looking forward to that. Going into the next week, we've got live music on Saturday of the following weekend. and then a couple beer releases coming out too.
Right, yeah, we've got a bunch of new beer releases for this week. We've got a nice, they're all small batch, taproom only, strong Belgian quad, super malty rich beer. We've got some brew club beers. We have a special brew club here that's a hazy IPA. We've got a brand new, we do a lot of mixed culture beer here, things on the side. You know, I've got the Jester King background. I can't really let that go. We've got a hibiscus saison on. We've also got fresh batches of Heights Light, Redwood IPA, and WYSIWYG on draft for this weekend.
And this Redwood IPA is delicious.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm
thank you.
drinking too.
After a segment about low ABV beers, and you guys brought out this nice 6.5%.
You got to build it up. You can't start high.
I know,
and-
it's like a
yeah.
seduction. I get
Yeah,
it.
we're sending you home. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You know, that's the foreplay.
What are the hours over here, New Magnolia?
So, we're open 7 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, 3 to 7 p.m. Thursday, we go a little later till 8 p.m. And then Friday, 2 to 9 p.m. And then Saturday, 12 to 9. Sunday, 12 to 7.
All right, man. Appreciate it. If you guys have never been out here, man, you need to stop by New Magnolia. Very easy, very close to downtown, right here in the Heights, Timber Grove area. Great beers, good people, good place to come by. Have some pizza. I already had some.
Lots of parking,
Lots of
Lots of
parking.
parking.
tons of outdoor space.
Yeah, you don't have to sit inside. You know, it's not a cramped little brewery taproom.
No, it's a good spot, man. I'm really proud of what you guys have done. Congratulations on the medal and congratulations on the delicious beers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here.
All right, you can listen to any of the old shows sponsored by No Label Brewing Company by going to drinkofages.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, various other dark web pages. You got to be careful. Some of
Specifically the dark web.
them, specifically the dark web.
Any of those.
Yeah. Never search. Oh, never mind. I'm not even going to get to that.
John, move on.
What's happening in No Label, Tom?
What's happening at No Label? We just released a triple IPA called Hipster Apocalypse. Our Irish Stouts dropped. Our Irish Stout on Nitros dropped. Our Irish Red and Six Packs have dropped. We have crawfish every Saturday. Live music Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. If it's the weekend, if the weather's great, it's always a party. And beer releases throughout. And coming this weekend, Don Jalapeno, our collaboration with Blood Brothers Barbecue, is dropping in the tap room. It's great pale ale, but with smoked peppers from the Blood Brothers themselves. And they do great barbecue, and we do great beer, and those together, good times. Any case, that's No Label.
I think we need to do a Drink of Ages Blood Brothers rib collaboration.
Anything with
Beef
ribs
rib?
is
Just a
good.
beef rib.
Just a big old
Just a
beef
big
rib?
brontosaurus beef
One
rib.
rib?
One rib.
Set it on the card.
That's a Drink of Ages Blood Brothers collaboration
Man.
rib. The place is fantastic. My favorite barbecue place in Houston by far.
It's
All right, I want to thank everybody for listening. Everybody be safe out there. Talk to everyone next week.
It's a drink of ages. Drink of ages.
John Burgerstock, 20-year physician assistant with the last decade focused on wellness medicine. He's also a 30-year military veteran and a graduate from Baylor College of Medicine. John Burgerstock is a friend of mine. He is the founder of KT Wellness. We're going to talk some stuff about testosterone. We all sit around, we drink a little bit of beer. We probably don't eat the healthiest a lot of times, at least I don't. And it's just good to know what your numbers are because sometimes you're running a little slower. It might not be because the night before. John, tell us about low T and like side effects and what exactly it is.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on today, John. Yeah, there's a lot of, lack of education out there today regarding guys and their testosterone levels. There's also a little bit of a stigma surrounding that, so we're often reluctant to even talk about it, much less go get it checked. But basically, low testosterone is, levels of testosterone that's verified with a blood test, and if your levels are below a certain point, we're labeled as having low testosterone. Depending on the presence of symptoms, your level could be at 400 and still have a number of symptoms where you're being affected by this, but not a lot of doctors would want to recognize that. Basically, that's what it means to have low levels, and a lot of guys are aware it affects a lot of things about how we feel, how we kind of operate, our key hormone for men. So, low levels can affect us starting in our mid-30s and beyond. It gets worse as the years go by. Statistically, they say we lose our testosterone levels drop 1 to 2% per year after the age of 35, which is 10 to 20% per decade of life. Pretty significant by the time you get into your 40s and 50s. You're definitely feeling that at some point, and a lot of guys are feeling it and don't even know that that's what it is.
Yeah, the side effects that most people don't even notice that it's even happening to them. All of a sudden, they're just not feeling, just don't have the pep that they used to. Testosterone is key hormone for males and also females as well.
Yeah, so by all means, one of the first things we notice is our energy level declines. We're fatigued in the middle of the day, or we feel like we have to go and take a nap. But in addition to the energy, it can create mental fog when your levels are low. You're not able to stay focused on a task at hand, or maybe you start a project around the house and you never finish it. Just kind of unmotivated to deal with that. And additionally, a lot of guys just think that the only thing it has to do with is our sexual performance, and that's far from the truth. In fact, it is a major part of that. Generally, that's not the thing that bothers the guys the most. And so, yes, this does address our libido as well. That's a big part of that. The other things are really by far the key drivers in why guys come in and get tested and want to get that fixed. They just want to, have the energy they once felt and be their normal selves again. And, restoring your testosterone levels to what would be considered an optimized level will make a difference for them. A lot of doctors just want to look at their levels and say, well, it's normal for your age, or everything appears to be okay. And say, yeah, but doc, but I've got this, and this that's bothering me. So it is not okay, even though that level is kind of low normal. So we focus on getting a guy's levels to what would be considered an optimized level, not just a normalized level. And there's a major difference in the philosophy and how we approach that. By far, this is what's going to help keep you energetic, keep you moving around. And study after study shows all the clinical and health benefits of having testosterone levels that are considered therapeutic levels or even optimized levels. You can see the benefits, based on the literature reviews and data and research that just proves that. Yes, there are risks associated with testosterone therapy, but if those risks are managed properly, a guy can be on testosterone therapy with optimized levels for the rest of his life if those parameters are followed and tracked.
But it's just one of those things that guys don't want to talk about, because it is their manhood. Somehow they tie it to all that. But in reality, it is just another hormone in your body that keeps it driving. Without it, or if it's really low, then you are not optimized running machine like you should be. It's just as important as knowing your cholesterol numbers, just as important as knowing your prostate screening numbers, and you need to know your testosterone number.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for a simple $10 test, we're running a special this month. You can come in here and get your testosterone level checked for $10. Normally, we charge $50 for the test just to kind of cover our expenses. If a person is deemed treatable based on that criteria, there's certain criteria that have to be met with that number, and some presence of the symptoms, of course, that fee goes towards the cost of your treatment. So you're not necessarily out of pocket for the test, but it's just to help cover our costs.
Well, I definitely recommend everybody stopping in and taking advantage of the $10 testosterone screening, and then talk to John and talk to the crew over here at Key T and see if there's something that will work for you and make you just make yourself feel better. Key T Wellness, check them out at keytwellness.com and give them a call.